And we are live. Awesome.
All right.
Welcome so much, Annie, to the Functionised podcast. Thanks for being here with me today to talk becoming a better version of yourself through the world of obstacle course racing and just being a badass. So welcome, Annie.
Thanks for having me. It's great to meet you.
Absolutely. So Ming, the producer here, was talking about the Michigan email address before. How long has it been since you've been at Michigan?
Oh man, we have to get to that. I graduated in 2013.
Okay, not so bad.
I am just hanging on to that email address as long as possible. My other one is just like so much junk that I don't even check it anymore.
Yeah, eventually we all have like 5-6 email addresses because all the junk keeps getting filled into it, I guess.
Yeah.
So how did you go from where you started to how you are now? Tell me your journey, if you would, getting into the world of obstacle course racing, the trials, the tribulations, everywhere to get to the upcoming 2022 season.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I took a very different path than I would say most of the like top elites did. I, came from a running background. Was like a runner in high school, did cross country and track. Kind of kept it up a little bit in college, did some club running, but never really. It didn't really go anywhere from there. I chose like the academic, more like career focused route from college, and after that, I kind of got a little bit back into going to the gym and running and more just like weekend warrior type thing. Signed up for some marathons and kind of fell back in love with like the athletic side of things. And it was a nice like outlet for me, like working the corporate life. It was nice to like have something else like going on in my life. And it was actually, I was training for the Boston Marathon in 2018 when I stumbled into like my first Spartan race. So just kind of on a whim, signed up with some buddies from college and ran the open wave for fun out in Arizona actually. And I quickly fell in love. Like I was shocked like how much I loved just like the feeling of being out in the mud and getting dirty and jumping on the monkey bars and stuff. And it was like a nice, total like 180 from marathon training, like hitting the pavement day in and day out at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the desert in the summer. It was actually like really nice to have a change. And it was pretty much right after that race where I decided, oh, I want to sign up for more of these. Like, this is really fun. And so after that year's Boston Marathon, I kind of refocused and was like, all right, I'm going to spend the summer doing more of these like obstacle races. And at this point I was racing in the age group category actually. But I was doing pretty well. I was like podiuming or winning like a lot of the races that I had entered. And I ended up qualifying for that year's World Championship in Tahoe in the age group division. And so I went out and had no idea what I was walking into. Like I got to Tahoe and there were people like from all around the world, like athletes, like strolling through the Olympic Village and they're, like wearing their country's colors and flags. And it was really amazing to see how like big the sport was. Like I had no idea. So that was a pretty cool feeling. And I think, after that race, so I ended up winning like overall the age group category. And I think it was like that moment where I realized, all right, I want this to be kind of like a focus. I really enjoyed it. And I could see like huge progress from the time I first did my, first open wave heat to like then winning the age group world championship. It was pretty quick. It was like a span of a few months. So I thought I had some pretty big potential in that sport if I actually focused on it. And so that next season, 2019, I started racing elite, but I wasn't committed enough to doing like the full like national series or even like the full like championship season or anything. I just was kind of picking races here and there that, you know, I could drive to or that sounded interesting to me. And then, you know, it's kind of like domino effect. Like one thing leads to the next. You meet more people. They convince you to fly out to this race. And soon enough, I'm seeing myself like in the top 10 at a national series and seeing like, oh, maybe I could like even be like more, you know, dominant in the sport than I originally thought. And so now here we are, and I'm like, you know, on a podium at a world championship, which is like still blowing my mind.
I could only imagine to get to have the shivers and chills just the first time, especially when that happens.
Yeah.
Did you go completely out of any type of training when you finished school and got into the corporate world, or did you still do your little workouts from time to time?
Yeah, it was kind of just like, you know, go for a run before work or after work, or meet with like the local running club a few times a week. And I joined like a, what do you call it, like an interval type training gym that was right near my office. So I'd go there on my lunch break and got more into like strength training. It's also where when I started picking up rock climbing, I would go meet up with some buddies like a couple nights a week at the gym. So it was kind of like all like, it wasn't, I guess I couldn't call it training at the time, but like in a way that's very much what my training looks like now. Is like I'm still, you know, climbing at the gym a few times a week and obviously running like almost every day. So it was kind of leading up to it. So I guess you could say it was like a base building phase for me. I didn't know it at the time.
Training for marathons, obviously you're going to be in shape to do the run portion of pretty much any distance. How, though, does the twist of obstacles come into play with your training? I mean, you're not just going out for runs and sprint work anymore. There's other things involved, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I would say I'm fortunate enough to, like, even in my first Spartan race ever, I think the only obstacle I missed was the spear throw. So it kind of came naturally to me. I'm like, I guess I don't know, the obstacles just didn't seem super challenging to me at the time. It wasn't until I started like racing at venues that were more like either super cold or wet or muddy that I started realizing, okay, obstacles can be challenging in the right conditions. So I didn't make it a huge focus of my training, I would say, until that, I don't even remember when the first race, it was probably not until 2019 when I started like failing an obstacle here or there, just because it was like muddy or cold or frozen or something. So then I started realizing, okay, maybe I do need to focus more on this. And then you also learn as you go on, and as you get more competitive, you see how technique plays into. So it's not only getting through obstacles, like we're in the level of this sport where like seconds count. So just getting through an obstacle isn't enough. Like you need to be quick and efficient through it. So you see how other people do it, and then you kind of learn after every race that you do, here's where I lost a few seconds, and here's, you know, I need to focus on the rope climb or the heavy carries or whatever it is, and then you spend some time doing that prior to the next race.
Of course. Is there a certain obstacle that you either consciously or subconsciously train more for? I know you said you had missed a spear throw, and I know that's one of the most failed obstacles in the sport.
For sure, yeah. So up until I think like probably this summer, so the first few races of this season, I like up until that point, I think I had made maybe one or two spear throws since starting the sport. So I was like, I pretty much went into every race thinking like I'm guaranteed to miss the spear, because it just was something that I couldn't, you know, wrap my head around, and I didn't take the time to practice. I didn't have a spear at home or anything. And then I think it was after Jacksonville this year, where like missing the spear cost me, I forget, like 1 or 2 spots for sure, if not more. But I really took a hard look at it and was like, if I want to like do well this year, I have to figure it out. Like there's just no room for error anymore. So yeah, I got some spears made and
There you go.
spent like a ridiculous amount of time practicing like at the park. And even like I would go to like the local races in like California or Vegas or whatever, and just spend like hours after the race, like while the open heat people were going through, just throwing spears like over and over and over, until I felt like I finally had like my technique down, felt comfortable with it. And yeah, it made a huge difference. Like from that point on, I mean, at least all the big races this year, that was the last time I missed. So knock on wood, hopefully I've got that down now.
I hope so. Yeah. You ever get any looks if you're out in the park throwing a spear? I mean, it's not every day you just see somebody randomly throwing spears at a target.
Oh yeah, I get looks. I get kids like coming up wanting to do it, like, and I've got to be like, this is technically like a weapon. I don't know. Like, go ask your parents first. So now I think I go to that park so often that they're used to me. Like, they don't even question me anymore. But yeah, for sure.
What would you say is your biggest weakness that you still have to work on?
Yeah, I don't know if I have like one glaring weakness. I would say I'm pretty like, I'm like decent at most of the components of the sport, across the board. I wouldn't say like there's one thing that I'm great at and there's one thing I'm terrible at, but like, I think there's the things that I want to work on next year for sure, or at least continue to work on, would be my downhill running. I think a lot of that's just like experience and like getting comfortable on the types of terrain and the types of courses that Spartan puts us on. It can be pretty technical and pretty steep. So just like getting more experience with that, getting more comfortable and confident on it. And then I think I always can improve on the carries. It's just one of those things. I've never really felt super comfortable running with like a bucket on my shoulder. I think I've gotten a lot better this year, but still definitely some room to improve on that.
Always.
Yeah.
Are there any distances that you like more than others?
I used to say that I liked the super distance the best, but honestly, I don't know. There's parts of like each one that I like. I think that the beast suits me well in some regards, just because there are more obstacles in it, and like I think anytime there's more obstacles, I tend to do better in those races. But yeah, I guess I'm the most scared of the sprint, just because I feel like there are people in the field who are much faster than me, and I think that there's like zero room for error in those races. So you slip up on something and it's kind of over. But I think they're fun. I like the sprint races just because you can like test your limits. You can go all out and like redline early in a race, and it's over pretty quick. So in that case, I like those. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
If you redline on a beast too early, that's it's over in different ways, isn't it?
That will be, not fun later on.
No. How about your 2022 schedule? Have you planned it out yet?
I can't really plan it out because we're waiting to hear back from Spartan on that. I guess they just decided to change it up, and now we're gonna have what they're saying is like a North America series. So I'm curious to see if that's going to include, if that means like we'll have like a Canadian race or like a Mexican race. I don't know. But it's looking like we're going to start in in March now instead of in February, which I'm pretty happy about.
Yes.
Get some off season. And then, yeah, once Spartan announces things, I'll probably take a look at that and see, if that's going to be my main focus again next year, or if I want to pick and choose maybe like some of the Spartan races and then some of the like Savage races, or some of the other brands out there. So
speaking of other brands, there's a certain other brand that you like the obstacles for as well?
Well, I haven't really tried any, so I definitely have my eye on doing it, especially now that there's like a Savage Series. I'd love to jump in on some of those and see like how it compares, and see if I don't know. It definitely excites me to try and like do a race where the obstacles matter a little bit more, like they're a little bit more challenging, a little bit more technique involved. I think we're at the point with Spartan where everyone's kind of good at obstacles, so it's really more of like a running race.
At this point, you kind of know the obstacles, right? I mean, you've done them again and again and again.
Exactly. It becomes a little bit monotonous, but yeah. So I'm excited to maybe do one of the Savage races, and definitely have my eye on like OCR Worlds for sure. So
yeah, you've seen the 100 meter, or is it 50 meter that they have there?
Oh yeah, do the 1K. I don't know.
It's just a straight up
whatever
sprint. Here you go, as fast as you can do the obstacles, and done.
Yeah. It's like a ninja course. Looks cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How about with your training? How do you typically eat, supplement, things of that nature?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of like all over the place with that. I don't have a strict like diet or anything. I'd say I try to eat healthy, but like I try to just eat a lot. Like that's basically, I think for a lot of us as athletes, just under eating and like, I don't know, they call it overtraining, but I think like it's more an issue of like under fueling or fueling incorrectly is the bigger issue. I'm super injury prone, so taking a look at like my blood work and stuff like that, and kind of seeing like, oh, are there gaps that I need to be focusing on, is kind of how I go about it. But it's definitely new territory for me. I've worked with like a nutritionist here and there, and it seems to be like, even when I think I'm eating so much, like I feel like anytime I'm not training, I'm eating, and yet somehow still it's like I still could be eating more, which seems crazy, but yeah, that's kind of the reality for I think a lot of endurance athletes, and it's not definitely not talked about enough. So
you brought something up interesting. You said you take a look at your blood work, which is something that we do all the time where we're at. So what type of things in your blood do you typically look for?
Yeah, so I've had luckily the chance to work with Inside Tracker this year, and that's been huge for me because it's the first time I've ever had a look at my blood work in my life. So it's been really eye-opening to see. I didn't even know what to expect the first time I did it, but the most glaring things for me were vitamin D, like very deficient in that. And then my iron fluctuates a lot. So I think that's pretty common with female athletes. And so I'm still kind of figuring out how to keep that more balanced, and like what foods, in an ideal world, I think we'd get all of our nutrients from our foods, but I think it's become apparent to me that it's not really possible. So just like supplementing with like the right kinds of supplements, and then getting as much as you can from your foods as well. So yeah.
Any go-to supplements for yourself? On the shelf, no matter what, you travel with it?
No, not really. I guess since I've started testing, I now take vitamin D every single day. But other than that, I would say I just take whatever it seems like I need at the time. I don't try to, take like too many, just because I don't know. It becomes a lot.
It
And
can
like,
be. I mean, I've seen guys and ladies' shelves that are just stacked with pills everywhere, and you
seriously,
ask at the end of the day, what are they for? I don't know. I was told to take.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went from taking nothing to now, I take probably like a handful of things per day. So to me, that seems like a lot, but I guess there's people who out there taking like so many supplements, and like, I don't know, it kind of freaks me out when you don't know what's in them and stuff. So I try to stick to the basics, like just like vitamins essentially.
Right. So you're not.
Yeah.
There's a football player back in the day I used to work with, and he used to literally have supplements in his cup and in his pocket, so he could time everything in practice
Oh
at
wow.
the right time. It was a little too much, but whatever worked. How about with types of diet? As an endurance athlete, there's obviously high carb. There's another theory of extreme low carb and running off of ketones, everywhere in the middle. So what do you like to prescribe to for yourself that you feel the best?
I definitely don't have like a specific diet that I follow, but I guess if I had to say I would describe it as high carb. I don't know, like I I don't know, I don't really function well unless I, eat a lot of carbs. Um, I would say I I'm not like a vegetarian, but I don't love cooking meat at home, so I tend to be more like on the vegan vegetarian um, spectrum, I guess if you could call it that. But I don't. I try not to like limit myself from anything. Like I try not to eat a ton of dairy, but if I feel like having ice cream one day, I'll let myself. But other than that, yeah, I just eat for fuel pretty much.
There you
It's like the basics of
go.
it. Yeah.
There's a lot of athletes, especially more elite athletes that I found that when you think are so hyper tuned on every little thing going in their mouth, not so much. I mean, if there's a pizza there, it's going in.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
How about with training? How many times a day do you train? How long are your sessions typically? Both before the season and during the season here.
Yeah. It varies a lot, but I would say like in the peak of season, I'm on a normal day doing some sort of run, typically most days. I do have some days that are only like cross training, like on the bike. But I would say most days it's like some sort of run, whether that's an easy run or like a tempo run or a hard workout, like probably twice a week would be like a harder effort workout, whether it be like hill intervals or speed intervals, something like that. And then 2 or maybe 3 times a week, some sort of like strength session in the gym. So like a dedicated strength program that's prescribed by my coach, and then the rest is kind of like as I feel. So like I mentioned earlier, I like to climb, which for me is like for fun. It's not, I don't really see it as training. For me, it's more of like just like a fun social thing. But at the same time, I'm reaping benefits in terms of like working on my grip and strengthening. It's like a full body kind of workout in a way. So in that way, it is kind of training, which is nice. But yeah, I'd do that a few times a week as I can like see fit in the schedule. And right now we're in the off season, so my days are a lot more relaxed, but like it's still a decent amount of volume, I would say. Like I'm still running 6 to 8 miles a day, throwing in a couple strength sessions a week. So it's definitely not like, oh, just like lay on the couch and eat ice cream. It's like, all right, we're still like base building like aerobic system back up, and kind of like seeing how my body's responding, and going from there. And then probably a lot of cross training built into that as well.
Earlier, you said that you get injured quite a bit, or at least definite difference in hurt and injured. What are you doing to prevent that, mitigate the amounts of injuries that you incur?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing because with the level that I want to compete at, you can't really, a lot of it, like the reality is you feel something coming on and maybe you can take a day or two off, but like it's tough to really determine like what's gonna linger and what's like gonna fizzle out. So it's a lot of just like taking it day by day and figuring out, okay, does it seem like it's kind of stagnating? Is it something that's like getting worse? And trying to like basically prevent it. Like sometimes you got to like run through injuries, is the reality of it, and just like hope that it doesn't turn into something worse. But yeah, I'm still pretty much navigating all that, because I've kind of found that if I hit a certain mileage for too long, I tend to get more injured. But at the same time, like I know that if I want to keep improving in the sport and like as an endurance athlete overall, I'm gonna have to keep pushing the mileage, and like I can't not, run like a decent amount and like expect to keep improving. So it's kind of just like finding that line, and like and figuring out like what you can do without pushing it too far. So yeah.
Any recovery tips that you typically utilize?
Yeah. So I would say every single day I'm doing some sort of like mobility work, which I find is like definitely like an important piece that I hadn't been incorporating until recently, like in the past years when I started adding that in. And I think I wouldn't say that it's gonna like, fix your, if you're having like tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, like doing mobility work isn't gonna really fix that, but it is gonna allow your body to like to, I don't know, like be more fluid, and it might help you like ease into like the correct movement patterns better than you would if you weren't doing that. So yeah, definitely like being consistent with like the mobility stuff, and then like when I feel something coming on, like I tend to have a lot of like lower leg tightness. So like my calves get super tight, and then that will lead to Achilles issues or plantar fasciitis or whatever it is. So just being like really on top of that, and getting massages if I need that, or just like jumping on the foam roller for like an hour at night while watching TV, or even just like stretching a few times a day, like goes a really long way, I found. So yeah, it's like it's a constant thing. Like you can't expect to like go on in this sport forever and just like not have these little things pop up. So
right.
It's kind of just like accepting that and then dealing with it, and not necessarily panicking every time you have like a little niggle here or there.
Is there anybody in the sport that, in your own mind, you've kind of painted a target on their back? Like, I'm coming for you this season, you're mine.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think all of us, like, I think would love the chance to, compete with Lindsay, like, and I don't know. I've like gotten a taste of what it could be like to beat her in a race, but I think ever since that happened, it's like I think prior to that, I like, it wasn't even fathomable for me to like try and beat her ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I came close to it, it was like, oh, maybe that is a thing I could do. And so like in that moment, I don't think I really realized what was happening. But then like looking back and reflecting on it, I was like, oh shoot, like I was so freaking close. And then I just like let it, I don't know, I let it all fall apart. Which is like, I wonder if I'll ever have that chance again. But now I think I at least have more confidence in the fact that like I could maybe someday beat her. But I think all of us feel like, yeah, like she's just so dominant that, I don't know, having the chance to take a crack at her would be pretty cool.
Sure. Any given race, you never know who might be right there chasing each other down. Do you realize and think that somebody might be looking at you that way too? Like, this girl's mine.
I hope so. I think we all have to like, it's funny because a lot of us are like friends, but like even like me and my teammates, like I think if we're not trying to beat each other, then like we're all gonna just stay where we are. Like the whole point of, you know, competing at this level is to like try and beat each other and make each other better athletes. So and ultimately, like if we want the sport to grow and become more competitive, the elite field, especially on the women's side, has got to become more, you know, like we've got to step it up. So I hope so. I think that's cool to have people like willing to like, you know, step out of their comfort zone or whatever it is. Like I think a lot of us, and myself included, have gone into races like kind of picturing like where you're going to stand in that, you know, in that field and like how the race is going to play out. But if you're willing to kind of push that aside and say, you know what, like I'm better than that and I'm going to like go for it, even if that means like falling apart late in the race. It takes that kind of like courage to make something happen. So yeah, I hope so.
That's powerful. That's a lot there. What do you think the sport has to do to take it to that next echelon? I mean, it's still in the infancy, and so many people that I talk to have no idea what the sport is. They'll say, oh, like a rugged maniac? Yeah, we went out and we had a lot of beers. It was a good time. And you know this is not about getting a bunch of beers and just having a good time. There's a lot that goes into it. Where do we have to go to hit that next echelon of acceptance, being on ESPN or Fox or something like that?
Yeah, ultimately, I think the athletes, there's only so much we can do necessarily. I think like a lot of that has to be, you know, at the Spartan like corporate level, where, you know, if they want to be like whatever an Olympic sport, they've got to make the investment into like getting eyes on us. I think as athletes, like we can do our best to promote that and like promote what they're putting out on our channels and getting our own followers and stuff. But ultimately, I think there's just a lack of a lack of like urgency in terms of getting like live coverage, for example, or even just like more comprehensive like stories around the athletes. And like it's really awesome. I think that there's been like a huge improvement this year in terms of like what Spartan's doing with their like post-race recaps and stuff, but it's not at the level of, you know, even like a CrossFit or like other, you know, up and coming sports. I think, and I don't think that there's like lack of interest. I just think that there's not enough like content per se. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
How CrossFit athletes, Spartan athletes, who's the fittest of them all?
I don't know. I think they're different. I don't know if you could really say. There's no way I could do any CrossFit competitions, I'll tell you that.
Okay, fair enough. Sports are a little bit different enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I see Spartan's kind of taken the Deca fit and kind of merged it a little bit in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. I love watching and following along with like the hybrid stuff. I think it's super cool, and those athletes I think impress me the most. Like the ones who can run crazy fast times and still lift like an insane amount of weight. I'm like that. I don't know. That blows my mind. But yeah, we'll see what comes of it. I think it's cool that they're gonna put like an actual competitive. I don't know if they're calling it a series or what, a championship this year. So I'm excited to see what happens with that.
That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If there were more weights on the course, and I've got a reason for this question here.
Okay.
Even bucket carry, if you increased it by 50, 60 pounds, sandbags, making these things truly, truly overly heavy, you believe that the results would be different. Reason being, a lot of the athletes and top athletes are pretty light still, dripping wet, especially the men there. I look and see everyone looks like I did back when I was a high school runner back in the day. The only difference is now I'm 40 and everyone else is still the same size. Do you think that it plays a role, or do you think that the cream will still rise to the top even if they're 135 pounds dripping wet if the weights are much heavier?
Oh no, I think it would wreck people. I know. I think a lot of us, like definitely myself included, like who are more focused on just the OCR races, are really doing like the bare minimum in terms of like being able to carry just enough weight, like, or load, like while being able to move fast. And I think there's only a handful of people in the field who are like doing above and beyond that, who could lift like a ton of weight and like still be able to run, 13 miles up mountains. So, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. I mean, we've seen in the past, like even doing like a double sandbag, for example, can totally shake up the entire field, and like both on the men's and the women's side, I would say. So I would like to see more of that. I think maybe not at every race, but maybe like at the big races. Like I think there was a piece of me that was super relieved not to have any double carries this year in either Tahoe or Abu Dhabi, but like I was fully expecting it and like mentally preparing myself for what that was going to feel like. And there's definitely a piece of me wondering like how it would have changed the race. And I think that component was like a really big part of the sport in the early years, and so we've kind of lost that, which is kind of sad. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to bring it back here and there.
How about your favorite course? Do you have one that you just, if you can every year, you like that spot?
Ooh, I would say, I don't know. I have like a love-hate relationship with like the Tahoe race, but I think as far as just like pure, I don't know, like which course just like amazes me the most, it'd probably be that one. I don't think I've ever run at any place as epic as Abu Dhabi, like in those sand dunes. I don't know if it was like my favorite form of running, like in deep sand, but just like it was amazing. I don't know if we'll ever go back there. I know that's like they're talking about it, but like I would definitely run there again. It just is such a sufferfest, like that. It's like you want, as much as you want to enjoy it in the moment, it's like you're just hurting so badly that you can't. But you do it, like there were moments in that race where I would just look up and be like, where am I? This is unreal. Like it just, it was blowing my mind. Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed that one for sure. All right, a couple lighter questions before we phase out here. Favorite book?
Oh my God, favorite book. Ooh, man, I don't know. I'm like a
Last time you
sucker
read a book.
for Harry Potter. I don't know, like that's like the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any. I'm not like a big reader right now. I don't like. I want to get back into reading for like even just for like training purposes. Like I know there's like I have a list of books written down that people have recommended me to like different like philosophies and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't gotten around to it
yet. Do you work out to music? And if so, what type do you like to listen to?
Yeah, I do. I do listen to music when I'm doing like a harder workout. I like a lot of different stuff. I like country music, but I also like I don't know, like I'm like all over the board. I like blues. I like pop music too, especially for like, you know, more like speed workouts and stuff. I think more like high end, like more like dance music. I don't know.
No, old school hip hop, Notorious B.I.G., stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
I feel like I like that more if I'm like in the gym. Yeah, some like 90s rap is always fun.
A little flair to it when lifting weight. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. Favorite superhero? If you could be a superhero, who would you be and why?
I don't know. I don't know. The Iron Man movies are my favorite. I don't have a good reason why. I just like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess Iron Man. I don't know why though.
At the end of 2022, if you can look back, what would make it a successful season for you? And a successful year overall, really?
Ooh. It's going to be really hard to top this year, to be honest. I haven't really thought about that, but I would say I don't have like a ton of expectations. I just want to, you know, whether my goal is focused on like, you know, doing, you know, placing like podiuming in the national series or like at Worlds again. I want to just like have, you know, an A goal, whatever that is. I haven't decided that yet, and really just like go after that. I think it can be really easy in the sport to be super like scatterbrained and be like, oh, I want to, you know, do well in the series, and I also want to like focus on OCR Worlds, and I want to do, you know, a race over here. Like, and I definitely think that I am, you know, probably gonna fall into that a little bit, but I want to have like, you know, here's my like A goal and just like really go in on that, because I think, yeah, otherwise you get a little bit, you're giving everything like a good effort, but you're never like 100% in on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get a little close, but never accomplishing over the top just one thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like even this year, like I would say I only really trained for Abu Dhabi for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Like it wasn't like it was hard to make it, you know, like an A goal when there was so much uncertainty around it, which is kind of unfortunate. I think a lot of us would have liked to have had a lot more clarity on like how the season was going to end, and I think had it been more concrete, like we would have seen a much deeper field, and like I think it would have been more epic in that sense, but it was tough. Like I think a lot of us didn't want to commit to something that wasn't 100% going to happen. So like for me, for example, like my A race was the North American Championships in Tahoe, which was awesome. Like I would have been perfectly happy to end the season with that performance. But then it was like that happened. We weren't even still done with the series yet. Like we still had another race in the series, and then like we were kind of thrown this last minute like, all right, everyone's like coming to Abu Dhabi and figure it out. And like, I don't know, to go from training for these like long, brutal mountain courses to then flip the switch and try and train for this like desert race it was silly in a way. And like, I don't know, we all made it happen, but like,
Yes, you
it
did.
would have been cool to say like, all right, that's my race. And like, that's what I'm going to be focused on 100%. Like, I wonder how that would have changed things.
Makes sense. Guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
So, Annie, if somebody's going to find you on social media, wants to ask you questions, get your autograph, how would they do so?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I am Mountain Goat Girl. And I don't know, just reach out to me there. Usually I try to respond to everything I get on there. So, yeah.
Easy enough, Mountain Goat Girl. And I will post that on our show notes as well so people can find you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Annie, thank you so very much for being with us here in the Functionized podcast. You are an amazing guest and wish you all the luck and then some this season. Probably see you out on the course somewhere and say hi.
Thank you so much, Jim. It was awesome to chat with you a bit, and have a great rest of your holidays.
Same to you, Annie. Pleasure. Take care.
Bye.